Hello, I'm Amanda and today I'm going to show you how to make felt. You need to cover your table with a plastic cloth like this one. You could use a dustbin liner, but it's going to be wet, so you need something waterproof. You need an old towel that you only use for felt making. I write on mine with an indelible pen so that I never mix them up with the bath towels. And that needs to go out on your table at least 2 layers thick. You're also going to need a slatted blind like this one. You can buy these quite easily. You can sometimes pick them up in charity shops, and as long as you tie off the ends, you can cut them to size if it's a really huge blind that you've got. You then need some wool tops. There's an amazing range of colours of dyed wool tops that you can buy. Here are some examples. But for today, to make the first bit of felt, I'm going to use undyed natural wool. So this is how the wool tops will come to you. And you need to know that wool, each fibre of wool has got little scales on it. And what you do when you're felt making is by rubbing and causing friction with water, you get the fibres of the wool to felt together. Those little hooks interlock with each other and you can end up with an actual fabric. That's what we're going to do. So you need to begin by taking a strip of your wool tops, just a fairly thin strip, like that, and I'm just going to make a small piece of felt, and I'm going to pull out a piece like that between my thumb and my other fingers and lay it down on the mat. It's better to make felt with several thin layers than with thick layers. Your felt will tend to be a bit lumpy if you do that. I'm going to make a piece of felt that's perhaps about 6 inches, 15 centimetres square, and that's my first row. I'm going to put the second row on top of it, but a little bit further down. Imagine the tiles on the roof of a house, like that. Now this is overlapping the first layer, and it's so fine that I can see the slats of the blind in between. And now again a third row. And a fourth row. You need a piece of net. This stops the fibres jumping about while you're getting them wet. We'll just keep everything together. So that's just going over the top for the moment. And here I've got a bottle which has holes made in the lid. I made those with a hot skewer. And that's going to enable me to spray warm soapy water over the tops like this. So I'm just going to put enough on to make those fibres wet. I'm just going to smooth that out. Like that. And then I'm going to roll up my mat, and this is quite energetic filmmaking, so don't wear warm clothes because you're going to be moving a lot to get this felted. And now you need to roll. If it's a big piece of felt, you need to roll 100 times in one direction. We're just making a small one here, So I think about 50 will be enough. Okay, I'm going to open out the piece. And I'm going to gently lift off the net. That's just held those fibres together with the first rolling. Now the thicker the layers, you could do lots more layers on top of each other, the thicker the piece of felt. It's going to be quite a fine piece of felt. Okay, and I can see that there's a little bit there that's just looking a bit dry. Now I'm going to turn the piece round 1/4 turn, and then I'm going to roll again. Another 50. 100 if you're doing a big piece of felt. And I'm going to take it out again. Felt is stuck to the back there, that's okay. So now I'm going to turn it again. That's so that we don't make the piece of felt too long and thin in one direction. And another roll. $100 if you're doing a big piece of felt, 50 will be enough just for this little thin bit. Water, extra water, just rub that a bit more. There's a mixture with the friction and the soap and a little bit of heat in that water, which will make those fibres start to felt together. You can see that that's now beginning to look like a piece of fabric, no longer just fibres. So you can go on with the rolling like that, or there are other ways you can felt it some more, some which are quite therapeutic. So you can actually pick up your piece of felt and you can throw it onto the table. Try and just tuck the ends in when you do that, because otherwise little bits, you'll find that you'll have little stringy bits on the edges of your felt. So just really treating it badly. You think about what happens when you shrink a jumper in the washing machine on a hot wash. That's what we're trying to do to the wool fibres here. So if I was right by a sink now, I would probably rinse this out under a tap because there's a lot of soap in this. But because I'm doing this as a demonstration, I'll just use the bowl of cold water here. I'll just wash all the soap out. And you can see that where we started with loose individual fibres with our wool tops like this, we've now got a piece of fabric. So that's quite a fine piece of felt. quite airy and light. There are all kinds of things you could do with your felt making. This will take dye beautifully, so long as you use a dye that's okay for natural fibres. You can cut it up and make it into something. You can make a little purse out of that. You could embroider it. Anything, any needle and thread that you put through wool, it's going to go through it like a knife through butter. It's beautiful to embroider with. And once you've got the technique sorted out, you can actually make felt in different ways. For example, you can felt round a rounded object like that. This is a little dish I made earlier. This is a contrast to the very fine felting we've got here. This is really thick felt, and I've done that by just taking thin layers of the wool tops like we did on the flat, round and round and round the ball. I used hand soap, a bar of hand soap to add the soap, and just kept working it, rolling it on the mat, rubbing it between my hands, and then when it was all done, I cut around the middle with scissors and you get this little bowl. This is another bowl that I made earlier, it's just made now into a, what might you put in there, some little treasure. It's got a little button made with a ball of felt, and it's decorated with some contrasting felt and stitched with a hinge there like that. This, which I didn't make, this was given to me. This is a game where you have to catch the ball in the cup. This is a felted ball, there's nothing inside there, that's just felt. And this one has been done by putting a plastic waterproof template inside and felting round it. Just layers and layers and layers of felt. This one again, this was a gift. This has been felted, and what's happened is that while this was being made, just where we laid out all the fibres, on top of the base colour, an additional 2 colours have been laid in to the design to make this flower shape on the front of this purse. There's all kinds of things you can get which you can add to your wool tops. You would probably put them on before you start any of the rolling. These are silk rovings. They're taken from the outside of the cocoon when silk is made, and they've been hand dyed. So those are quite nice. You can set those into your felt, and then it becomes, these fibres become part of the felt. So I hope that's enough to get you started on doing some felt making, and you have a lot of fun with it.